let's just start with the internal conversation because I know a lot of people will have this conversation with themselves. One of the things that I liken it to is having a conversation between your head, your heart, and your gut. And you have to kind of figure out which one that you want to be able to listen to at each time and say, well, I mean, there's a rationale to this, but there's the fight or flight and, conscious versus subconscious and so many different things with it. Most people think of negotiations as something where they're having a negotiation with someone else, but a lot of times it actually starts internally. And it's something where you're probably running into this a lot. Is that something that you see when you work with a lot of high level negotiators?
Absolutely, and thank you. It's great to be with you, Sean. I appreciate it very much. Absolutely.
Mm,
The negotiation that happens with other people is fairly far down the road to the negotiations that we've already had with ourselves and with anyone whom we are interacting with or who might be impacted. And ultimately, that negotiation is going to be based upon the objections that we identify within ourselves as to whether or not we should move or why we should or should not move forward.
okay, so with that, what I'm hearing in that is a lot of it has to do with our experiences and everything that leads up to it. So we are adding restrictions and putting limitations on ourselves based on what our experiences are, or even in some cases, the people that are surrounding us, because they kind of dictate how we see ourselves. And if we don't have that level of confidence and competence in exactly what we bring to the table value wise, sometimes people can the outside noise can turn into the inside noise. If these are internal negotiations that are happening before every external one, it seems like something that we should understand better. So can you kind of walk me through once we identify that that's what's actually taking place? What are some of the things that we can look at to acknowledge it in that moment and say, okay, well, which one am I actually listening to? Is it the head, the heart, the gut, or how does that work?
If we stand back a little bit, there's a Dr. Sol de Klerk in
Okay.
2014 wrote a book entitled The Body Keeps the Score. Now, his work is really talking about the impact of trauma on the brain and on the life. But if, as educators and as business people, we take that a bit further, every experience that we have is part of those assumptions, presumptions, and estimates that we make throughout the rest of our lives. It's just a matter of how aware we are. So while there are the similarity or the pattern is that we are going to be driven by that set of assumptions that
Mm.
we have. And then the question is the relationship between the assumptions that we have and the presumptions that we're willing to make. And let me make that distinction. In the evolved framework of negotiation, a assumption is broken down to a belief. If you take all the definitions of the word assumption, it comes down to one word, belief. So the pattern is that we are all driven by our beliefs. The difference is that we all have different beliefs
Sure.
about the same thing. So that's where, yes, there's a pattern, but the pattern's different for each of us because it's driven by our beliefs. Now, the distinction here is how do our beliefs impact our presumptions? Now, what's a presumption? Presumption is the action that we're willing to take based upon our belief or not take. So, in other words, I may believe, and this morning I believed that a stock was going to go up,
Mm.
and that was my belief. So the question is, you can't argue with my belief,
Right.
right? The question is, what would my presumption force me or encourage me to do? Was my belief strong enough that this stock is going to go up? And the fact was, just this morning, yes, I believe the stock is going to go up. And so I presumed it was going to go up. What does that mean? I bought the stock. So my presumption is now the action. I'm not thinking about I own it now. And the stock promptly went down. I'm not making this happen this morning.
Okay.
So my belief had nothing to do with the outcome or the action that I was going to take. I presumed that it would go up. Why do we know that? Because I bought the stock. And then what happened? The reality, the stock went down. Now, did I lose anything? No, because I still own the stock. I will only experience a loss or a gain at the point that I sell the stock. So, but in my mind, if I look at my account, it shows negative. So, that discussion that we're going to have with ourselves is, what do I believe about the action I'm about to take? And then what risk am I willing to take? And that will dictate that action.